وسهلا بكل الذين ينضموا للاستماع إلى راديو بلدي أول راديو عربي أمريكي ويعنى بقضايا العرب في المهجر. برامجنا في راديو بلدي كل يوم جمعة من 8 وحتى 9 صباحا مع ليلى الحسيني في بث حي ومباشر وعبر WNZK راديو 690 AM. صباح الخير بلدي، صباح الخير لكل مستمعينا.
Welcome to Radio Baladi, the first Arab, Middle Eastern, and American simulcast radio show. Radio Baladi is broadcast every Friday morning on WNZK 690 AM from 8 until 9 Eastern Time on Good Morning Michigan with Layla Al-Husseini. Our call-in number 248-557-3300. And now, stay tuned for the best radio talk show on Arab and American issues with your host, Layla Al-Husseini.
And good morning, everyone. I'm Hanania, not Layla Al-Husseini. Obviously, as you can tell from my voice, got to make it really deep. It's Friday, November 23rd, 2018, and you're listening to the Arab Street Radio and podcast broadcast from Chicago through 690 AM WNZK Radio in Detroit, Michigan. We can be taking your calls a little bit later today, or a little bit later during the show at 248-557-3300. Our guest this morning is Ali Younes. He's a journalist, award-winning, and he's a writer with Aljazeera. And we're going to be talking to him about recent elections, including the close call by Rashida Tlaib to just squeak through as Congresswoman from Michigan, and the victory by Ihlan Omar in Minnesota. Tlaib and Omar are the first two Muslim women to be elected to the U.S. Congress. Rashida Tlaib is the first Palestinian woman, but not the first Palestinian, of course, to be in Congress. We've had a couple. But does it make a difference when we get one or two of them in office? There are 435 members. The Arab Street Radio and Podcast is part of the U.S. Arab Radio Network, hosted by Layla Al-Husseini, whose show is broadcast Monday through Friday, every morning in Greater Detroit from 8 to 9 o'clock. For more information about this radio show, you can go to hanania.com, or you can get the podcast, which will be posted immediately after the show, at thearabstreet.org. Ali, I believe, is on the line. Ali Younes, welcome. How are you, man?
I'm good. How are you? Good morning to you, Ray, and happy Thanksgiving to you and everyone else who's listening to you.
Happy Thanksgiving to you and the 55th anniversary of the still unsolved assassination of JFK. You know, they keep secrets a long time in the United States.
Yes, it's the 55th anniversary, and I consider myself one of the amateur experts on the case, but this is not the topic of the show, I believe.
Yeah, me too. We can talk about it. It's the one time they didn't blame Arabs for killing somebody in this country. Ali actually writes for Al Jazeera, and I have a link on my Facebook page. If you go to aljazeera/profile/ali-younes.html, you can see all of his stories. And he's actually broken some great stories. The last two were on issues involving Jordan. Jordan being criticized over renaming a brigade after the United Arab Emirates Crown Prince. And before that, just a couple days, I guess it's a group of American families of slain U.S. troops who are suing Jordan to get information on what happened to their relatives. Tell us about that one. Is that a political lawsuit, Ali, the one where these U.S. families are suing Jordan? What is that about?
Well, this is it stems from a 2016 incident in south of Jordan, at an air base called King Faisal Air Base, in which a Jordanian base guard, who was a member of the Air Force of Jordan, shot and killed 3 Special Forces American Special Forces troops who were training the Syrian rebels.
And was the shooters
on November 4th, 2016? Yes.
The shooter wasn't acting on behalf of the Arab government, correct? He was kind of
no. It went crazy. I mean, yeah, we still, it's a mysterious case nevertheless, because neither the FBI, who always investigate whenever an American or Americans being shot or killed overseas specifically, and the Jordanian government were able to find or to establish a motive by the shooter, whose name is Ma'arik Abu Tayyih or Al-Tawayh, from a big tribe in Jordan.
Right. And they're suing. Now, I noticed on Facebook there was this discussion about, was he suing the Jordanian government or was he suing the royal family, the Hashemite government?
Yeah, that's the one. They are suing the Kingdom of Jordan, the country, the state,
right,
and the shooter himself. And they have some pretty good reasons to sue. And remember, this is still, they filed an application to sue. They filed complaint to sue.
Right.
Okay, so the case has not gone through a hearing,
the court system,
to be admissible in court yet.
Right.
So, but they base their lawsuit on Jordanian government lies, because immediately after the shooting, after this guard shot and killed the 3 American soldiers and shot the fourth one who survived, the Jordanian government lied. They say first they blamed the American soldiers. They said the American soldiers, they were on a mission outside in a shooting range, and upon coming up to the Air Force, the base gate, they did not obey orders, and therefore they were engaged by the shooter and shot and killed. Then a second statement by the Jordanians, another statement that said the Americans were drunk, they did not obey orders. And third one, they said the Americans were, there were a shot in the air, so some loud noise, that confused the shooter, which prompted him to confuse the Americans as being attackers of the base. All this turned out to be lies from November until February, until they admitted finally that this was all not true, and they apologized. The ambassador apologized to the families in February. So November, December, January, and February. And the king himself sent letters to the families paying condolences and, essentially saying, we're sorry that it happened to your loved ones in Jordan.
When you look at a case like this, you kind of have to look at it in the bigger picture. Is it unusual? I always get this sense that there's this, double standard. I think it's great that, I want the American families to find out what happened to their loved ones, obviously. I think that's important. And you get this sense that governments lie, not just Jordan, but all over the Middle East and in the United States and in many countries. And there seems to be this, group, a lot of explanations. It seems like they can't figure out what it is, or are they hiding something? Is the government hiding something, you think, or they just don't know how to respond to it because they're not used to people suing them?
Yes. Look, you said something very important. It's not just the Middle Eastern governments who are notorious, lie, and they always kill their own people and lie about it. And we have Khashoggi's case is a clear example. But the American families, they held a press conference, and I covered it pretty well in my piece on Aljazeera English. They also demand the U.S. government to release the FBI report. There's a secret FBI report that no one has access to that identify or says what happened. Okay, so the American families don't even have access to the U.S. the American report by the FBI. There is a U.S. Army public report, but that report it doesn't explain what really happened. Nevertheless, under pressure by the families, the Jordanian government released a 6-minute tape that clearly showed, probably you remember, or some of your listeners remember, that showed the shooter, point blank killing the Americans, who were not prepared to be, for a combat.
They weren't expecting
or this.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
They weren't expecting it. But
6 minutes. Both families demand the whole 2 hours tape, from the very beginning, from 11:30 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. when this all happened.
Why don't the Jordanians just release it? It sounds like this guy was, went off the deep end, nuts, kind of, an extremist. I mean, are they trying to make it out like this was done intentionally by the Arab governments or, by the Jordanian government? Or is it more of a case of this guy was just crazy,
because
the shooter?
This guy was was investigated thoroughly, and I investigated the case thoroughly, and I have the whole case file,
Right.
Both from the Jordanians and from the Americans. This guy is not an educated person. You know, he did not even have a high school diploma.
He's related to somebody
he's a
in the
Bedouin
government?
from a big tribe, and they have always been around American soldiers. Okay, and there's no reason for him to shoot Americans, and he's not an extremist, according to his family and everyone else.
So, I mean, why is there a resistance from the Jordanian government to get this information, or is this typical Arab world and Middle East, not just the Arab world, but typical Middle East where they don't like bad news? So it's not that they're hiding something; they just don't want bad news to be out there.
Yeah, well, the Americans were incensed, and I don't blame the families. They were saying, look,
but
that's
across the Middle East. I mean, even and I use Israel as an example because, Americans are killed there. People are killed there all the time. We can't get answers from them. It's similar to that. But how is the U.S. responding? How's the American public responding to this story? Is it getting much play, or are you really the main, writer writing about it?
No, they got published by the New York Times, the Washington Post. My reporting is more thorough. I don't just do a Reuters copy, just he said, she said stuff.
Right.
Perhaps I'm the only one who actually thoroughly interviewed the Jordanian family side.
Right.
And the government side, and have access to the whole file, an investigative file, the Jordanian investigative file, the court record, the whole thing. And I did some work also with the New York Times on it, cooperative, investigative stuff. So, but they get covered. But most American media, they don't have time and effort or personnel to go investigate this thoroughly by talking to the families in Jordan.
All right.
Or in the U.S. So it's a matter of logistics or maybe desire.
Yeah, we're on the line with Ali Younes, and he's going to stick it out with us for the next 45 minutes. We got a break coming up real quick, Ali. One of the issues that we're going to shift gears on is just to kind of talk a little bit about elections. In the United States, it's really amazing, because to me, these things happen everywhere. There are crazy people killing people, governments killing people. We're going to talk a little bit about Khashoggi and the Saudis and Turkey, but also, we had an election here in the Illinois, and a Nazi who was running for office got 56,000 votes. This guy was, openly, former member of the National Socialist Party in the U.S. who advocates for the Nazis. And, he called me up and his people said, hey, you're Palestinian. I should be supporting him. And I said, no, I'm not supporting you. I don't support that kind of craziness. I'm not going to support that. I don't believe in Holocaust denial, and I don't believe in all this other garbage. So they were pretty upset. But what's interesting to me is that if you're an American, you can vote for a Nazi in an election. But what you can't do in America is criticize the government of Israel. They passed laws that prohibit me from doing that. And if I do it, I am denied financial support from 26 states have passed that law, that if I boycott Israel, I cannot qualify for some of the rights in my state where I live. So we're going to talk a little bit about that also. On the line with me is Ali Younes. He's an award-winning journalist, great writer for Aljazeera. I have the link to his columns, and you should go there and check these columns out. In the meantime, we're going to take a quick break here for our first break at the Arab Street Radio. And when we come back, we'll continue talking with our guest, Ali Younes. I'm Ray Hanania. We're going to be right back right after these messages.
Life is a nonprofit charity that's provided humanitarian aid and development to people and communities for over 25 years, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. When disaster occurs here or around the world, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. Please help improve these efforts. Make your tax-deductible donation to Life now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493.
It's all in one grocery store, and that store is Zam Zam Fresh Foods Market. Zamzam Fresh Foods Market offers fresh vegetables, halal meats, a great fresh bakery, as well as nuts and spices and much more. They also offer special deals every Wednesday, so don't forget to ask for your favorite foods as shish kebabs are ready to go. So please stop by Zamzam Fresh Foods Market at 24065 Orchard Lake Road in Farmington Hills. Their phone number is 248-476-0300. Again, that phone number is 248-476-0300. And they are open from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Zamzam Fresh Foods Market is your one-place stop for all your grocery shopping needs and your favorite foods.
When it comes to reproductive medicine, IVF Michigan Fertility Centers are the recognized leaders. With locations in Bloomfield Hills and 5 other cities in Michigan and Ohio, IVF has experts in all aspects of the field. As a founding member of IVF Michigan Fertility Centers, Dr. Nicholas Shama is one of the leading reproductive endocrinologists in Michigan and Ohio. Dr. Shama has performed over 10,000 IVF cases and has helped thousands of couples fulfill their dreams of parenthood. American board certified in both obstetrics and gynecology and reproductive endocrinology and infertility, Dr. Nicholas Shama is a very caring, compassionate, expert physician that understands not only the medical but also the emotional toil of infertility on his patients. When it's time, get personalized care from Dr. Nicholas Shama at IVF Michigan Fertility Centers in Michigan and Ohio. Call toll-free 855-952-9600, 855-952-9600.
Ziyad brand. Quality products from our family to yours. Ziyad Brothers Importing offers the finest quality products, including brands like Sultan, Kraft, Nestle, Hook, Rico Picon, Dana, and many more. Ask your retailer to carry these fine products because you deserve the very best. For more information, visit our website at www.ziyad.com. That's www.ziyad.com. Ziyad, quality products from our family to yours.
And welcome back to the Arab Street Radio. I'm Ray Hanania, and on the line with me is Aljazeera writer. This guy is a great writer. I've known Ali Younes a long time, and it's always an honor to have him on the radio show. And because, you know, Ali, the one thing about you is your real journalism. And, you know, people in the Middle East get mad at me because I criticize them often. You know, not just the Arabs, but the Israelis. When it comes to journalism, it's all kind of, you know, a little, you know, tempered, you know, politically driven. A lot of it is opinion rather than facts. And as you said, you know, when it comes to the story about these American troops that were killed in Jordan in 2016, you didn't just take a wire service report. You actually rolled up your sleeves, got the facts, reported it, and that's how I find your stories fascinating. You're writing stuff that a lot of people are not writing, and I think that's you know, really cool. Isn't that tough to do in the Middle East, though? You know, I'm in the United States. I can pretty much say and do whatever I want, but in the Middle East, you know, that's not an easy thing to do. How do you manage that? And
yes. Yeah, thanks for your kind words, Ray.
You deserve.
You know, I think the word journalism does not even apply in the way that it applies in America or in the West.
Right.
A lot of what I see here is more, or like you said, activism, but also it's more opinionated kind of a journalism that is, you know, and you will be labeled as a traitor or an agent or a misguided person. You could be an infidel. You could be
for just writing the facts, right? You just write the facts and they get mad at you.
Yeah, of course.
They want to know, why are you writing those facts? They're embarrassing the, you know, Jordan. I bet people are mad at you for writing this story because it, you know, there's this hint that maybe something was done wrong in Jordan, and people get mad at that rather than saying, hey, let's find out what the truth is, and we can keep it from getting worse, and then move on.
It's not just Jordan. It's not just Jordan. Jordan.
That's
is
what
just,
I mean. I
one
get
Arab
that.
country.
I mean, it's one
like
example.
I think Arab governments are very insecure about the truth, and because they're not transparent. They are dictatorial, authoritarian, but with a varied degree of violence. You know,
right.
A country like Jordan is not as bloody as maybe others.
Right.
You know, you can criticize the government with the limits, but they could put you in jail, but they're not going to kill you, for example. other
And
countries
you know,
in the
I
region.
write opinion columns. Just again, I always like to clarify that I'm not really a reporter. I'm looking at your stories, stealing everything you write, and then telling people what I think about it, and I get paid for that, right?
Yeah.
So I have it easier than you. But a reporter has to write the facts, right?
And
Not their
also,
opinion.
not just facts. I mean, we have to be very ethical, and we have also
Fair.
legal. Legal departments always check what we write, and people that go after what we write and make sure that we stick to the facts and we write honestly and ethically. And this is any journalist should be that way. You don't have to have an editor, go after you.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. In fact, in the U.S., there are laws that protect us as opinion writers, and as journalists, though, it's a much tougher thing. You have to be fair. You have to be objective. You got to try to present the actual picture, but that's what I think you do very well. I think that you, when you go into a story, you try to project the actual picture of what's happening, and then you let the reader decide what they want to believe based on the facts that you present to them. You don't express your opinion, and say, no, this is what really happened. So I admire that, and that's why I think you're unique, because we don't see that in a lot of journalism from the Middle East, from anybody, the Arabs or the Israelis.
But there also, and part of the problem is that Arab governments or their spokespeople, they refuse to speak to the journalists.
Yes.
They expect you to just be an Arab, or you're a Palestinian, or you are a Syrian, or Jordanian, or Iraqi, that you really don't have to write objective journalism, that you have to write from a perspective of that government just because you come from that part of the world. Yes. This is fallacious. This is preposterous in my opinion. We saw
that in the Khashoggi murder, and obviously this is a sensitive thing for the two of us. We come from. We write for two countries that are basically at a political war, Saudi Arabia and Qatar. Khashoggi actually used to write for the Arab News, before he was picked up by the Washington Post. And I think that was the big problem with the Saudis, that they weren't open initially. I think that there was a story that said that the Crown Prince was shocked at how much attention this killing was getting in the mainstream American news media. And I think the Saudis didn't handle this. They held off so long that there's this credibility issue that, first of all, natural credibility, because Arab governments control things, all of them, not just the Saudis. So it's hard to believe somebody would just do something on their own. But when you look at the Jordanian incident, nobody, says that the king of Jordan ordered the soldier, the Jordanian soldier, to kill the three guys. So you have to have some, real good reporting. And outside of you, I haven't seen any real good reporting. Even the reporting here in the U.S. has been very biased, I think, because they've turned Khashoggi into, suddenly he's a martyr who they all love. In part because he was bashing the Arab world, the Saudis. But when he was writing for the Saudis, he was a nobody. They wouldn't pay any attention to him. It's a difficult thing to navigate, because it almost sounds like, I don't think what happened to Khashoggi was right. It's terrible. It's really, they need to find out what the truth is. But it seems like the first victim in this story is the truth.
Look, Khashoggi... Saudi Arabia as a country cannot tolerate one guy, one man who can write an opinion.
Well, that's the issue, though. Is it really the government that couldn't tolerate? I mean, listen, there are people who claim that it was ordered by the Crown Prince, and they say that they have evidence. But I mean, the one thing that hurts them the most is it took them so long to get the facts out. It took them 10 days, almost 2 weeks, I think. For them to allow the facts, and then they cleaned up the mess. But isn't it possible that the Saudi head of the consulate in Istanbul could have done this, on his own, and taken something that he was asked to do and just, went off the deep end? That it just seems possible to me.
If you want to think about it, if you think about it from a Western point of view, like if you have a Western lenses.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a possibility the CIA could do something without telling the president. In America, it's not as America or Germany or Britain. They're not run as the way authoritarianly like the Arab world. In this region, nothing is run spontaneous, or me as a manager, or me as a head of a department, an intelligence, or a ministry. I could do something without telling the leader. Saudi Arabia, of all countries, is just an absolutist monarchy. If you tell me about Jordan, for example, yeah, I believe maybe the intelligence did something on the side, or the minister did something without telling the king, and the king doesn't know everything, because it's the way Jordan, for example, I'm using that as a contrast. It's one more, there's a parliament, there's a lot of noise, a lot of people speak, there's press, there's a lot of active national dialogue there. In Saudi Arabia, you basically you have to bow down for the king or the crown prince, and you can never say a word, and you see they round up a lot of activists, a lot of people who advocated driving. So I don't believe, and I don't buy the theory that it is a possibility that the head of the intelligence or the deputy head of the intelligence did that something on his own. They could never do something on their own. And the CIA also came to that conclusion.
Well, the argument would be they couldn't do something on their own, and if they did, they would be facing the death sentence. And they did arrest 11 people, and 5 of them have been, they've said that they're going to pursue the death sentence. But how is Saudi Arabia different from other Arab countries and Israel? If the government doesn't want something to be, you could look at it like they're embarrassed by this. They don't understand it, and I get that, but not just Saudi Arabia. They're all of them are like that to different degrees. But even Israel, and we deal with Israel all the time with this kind of thing, because more people are killed by the Israelis than people are killed by, Arab governments. The Israeli government is out there, killing people, and yet in this country, it's, they do everything they can to block it. So I guess is the difference that the Saudis they do it without strategy, but the Israelis are more strategic in covering things up. The Israelis think more about PR. If this had happened in Israel, they would have been on top of it in 10 minutes, with their spin, with their press releases, with their facts, with their information. And the Arab world, the Saudis are typical of the Arab world, basically not doing anything for 2 weeks. Shocked that people care, Saudis,
right? Like you said, if it was an Israeli operation, they would have been ready with the after the fact and after the operation, with the PR, with the talking points and everything else, because this operation would be a well thought out operation, similar to, and I've written on the intelligence operations by the Mossad and extensively, and I cover this intelligence stuff, and it would have been done that way. By the way, they would have not sent 15 people in and 2 airplanes. I could have tracked the airplanes myself, and I did track the airplanes coming out of Saudi Arabia through Dubai and Cairo into Istanbul, Turkey. And they were all in plain sight. There were no in disguise, regular passports, their own passports, their own identity. So it was easy for the Turks to identify them. And of course, the Turks have bugged the consulate, which is normal in intelligence operations, and they listen to the whole thing. So
and it's hard to talk about this. It's hard to talk about this because it's almost, a guy was murdered, which is clear. Khashoggi, nobody deserves to go through what he went through, and I'm sure it was horrible. But then it also, there are other issues here that are difficult to address because it's almost as if, people are being disrespectful by asking them, but it's just the facts. It's hard to get facts, and it seems like a lot of people in the U.S. are using this because there's a war between Trump, the pro-Trump people, and the anti-Trump people. So they don't care about Khashoggi in this country. He's just a political prop in an attack against Donald Trump. The Washington Post would never have hired Khashoggi had he been a virulent anti-Israeli critic. They wouldn't have put him there, but they hired him only after he left the Saudis. He was a close friend of the royal family before this, Mohammed bin Salman, and King Salman, and suddenly they give him a job. They didn't give him a job because they want objectivity. That's the thing that upsets me. I definitely, I'm upset about Khashoggi, absolutely. But the way the U.S. media treats us, they didn't hire you, they didn't hire me. If you and I had been close to, if you had been close to the Qatari monarch, or me close to, the Jordanian or Saudi monarchs, and then we flipped and started becoming the worst critics, yeah, they'd hire us, right? Do you agree with that, or do you think I'm, putting too much?
For the media, they want somebody who has knowledge and access and information about the topics that they want to write about. And just to go back to what you said about Khashoggi, yes, you're right. And I've spoken to him before in the past, and I've met him many times, and he never said he was an opposition figure to the Saudi government. He was an advisor and a close confidant of Prince Turki Al Faisal, the son of the late King Faisal, who was the head of the Saudi intelligence for decades.
Tough guy too, right? He was close to the U.S. and he did things that the U.S. never wanted to even talk about.
Right, and he lived in the U.S. He has an apartment in Tyson Corner in Virginia. And when Prince Faisal, Khalid Al Faisal, was an ambassador to the U.S., Saudi ambassador, Khashoggi was his advisor in the U.S. And Khashoggi himself had told me in the past, maybe a couple of years ago, that he's not an opposition figure, because I was writing a story about, this was maybe 3 years ago, when King Salman took over, and they switched the deputy, the crown prince, from Prince Mogren to his son. And I called Khashoggi, and I was in the U.S. back then. I wasn't here. I was working with my old TV station in Atlanta. So, and I asked him, does he support that? He says, yes, I support that. I said, wouldn't that be a coup? That Prince Mogren is a senior guy. He's the son of the founder, and now you bring the second generation and maybe third generation. He says, no, that's not a coup, and I pledged my allegiance. He pledged his allegiance. So that goes to say that, okay, he's a journalist. He's not an opposition. He had mild criticism that he feels this criticism is in the best interest of his country, Saudi Arabia. So he was not an opposition, tried to bring down the regime. He said, I am for the regime. And he said it many times. And yet, they did not tolerate that. I mean, how crazy was that?
Let me ask you your opinion. I'll tell you my opinion on this, and then we'll take a break and we'll move on. But my opinion is that the Crown Prince, and I don't know this for a fact, it's just a gut feeling based on everything I've read, that he didn't like this guy being out there criticizing him, and he had cracked down on all of the critics, rounding them up in Saudi Arabia, putting them in that hotel, I guess, in Riyadh. And I think he did want this guy back in Saudi Arabia. I don't believe, though, that he wanted him killed in the Turkish embassy. If they were going to kill somebody, you're going to want to do it in some place where you totally control it, rather than in a foreign country. But I don't know if that seems reasonable. I mean, I do believe they wanted to shut this guy up somehow, because I did read some of his columns when he was writing for the Washington Post. And you're right, he wasn't really a big critic initially, but some of the stuff he wrote was pretty strong, and the Washington Post gave him this big platform where he could beat the bejesus out of the Saudis, and he did that in many of his columns. I read the ones at the Washington Post. They're far more critical. And so I think the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman did want this guy back there. He probably did tell them, grab him and bring him back. I just don't believe that he personally said, kill the guy there. That's the part that I have a hard time believing.
Look, if you want my opinion, I think the Saudis did not anticipate that would happen. What happened would happen after they've done killed him. This would happen to him. I think they've done an intelligence operation. Okay, either kidnapping or killing him in Turkey or Istanbul. Right. Now, the key thing was that Khashoggi's fiancée was outside.
Yes.
If he wasn't there and he got into the embassy or the consulate, I think the world would have taken a long time before somebody finds
right?
Yes, although Turkey, now knowing what we know now about the eavesdropping operation inside the consulate,
that's the thing that's interesting, isn't it? They're listening. And I think every government probably does this.
I'm not shocked by that. The U.S. and the Soviet Union and Russia and Germany, they all spy on each other.
Yes.
The Israelis spy and everybody spy on each other. And then just a side note, Turkey, after the attempt coup against Erdogan a couple of years ago, I think they are watching the Saudis, the Emiratis, because they suspected them of funding the coup plotters against Erdogan. Nevertheless, I think the Saudis, they perhaps tried to bring him back. They'll put him in jail or kill him in Saudi Arabia.
Right.
But I don't think, they could have easily, got him. And I've spoken to a lot of people in the U.S. who are in the intelligence business, and initially they thought, okay, just easy. They could just easy wheeled him out of the embassy, disguised him, or put him in a box and shipped him to Saudi Arabia. And we could have done that.
Well, they do that. The U.S. has done it.
They didn't.
But go ahead. Sorry, they didn't do it. You're right.
If they took him to Saudi Arabia, it's a kidnapping. One.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Two, what are they going to do with him in Saudi Arabia? Everybody will demand his freedom, and it will be a big problem. So I think killing him is the easiest route, and the most gruesome and the most criminal, route they've done that. And I don't think they've done that on their own, because I don't think they're going to do that to some high-profile journalist like Khashoggi, close to the royal family, very well-known figure in Saudi Arabia and outside Saudi Arabia.
If he were writing for for one of our media, nobody would have cared, I don't think, but he was writing for the Washington Post. I'm on the line with Ali Younes. Ali, we got to take another quick break here. You're listening to the Arab Street Radio. I'm Ray Hanania. It is Friday, November 23rd, the day after Thanksgiving, and we are going to continue this discussion and take a few calls at 248-557-3300. Ali Younes, my guest from Aljazeera, he's going to hang on with us. We're going to take another break, and we'll be right back right after these messages.
The Rama Relief Foundation provides humanitarian aid into areas inside of war-torn Syria, as well as aid to the refugees who have fled to the neighboring countries in the Middle East. The foundation offers food baskets, container shipment, mental health, education, soup kitchens, and more. Go to ramarelief.org or call 248-990-4247. Any donation amount made to Rama will go to sustaining many lives. Call now 248-990-4247.
Kashat's Mediterranean Market and Shish Kebab offers a great array of your favorite Mediterranean meals. Meals range from lamb specialties, shawarma sandwiches, seafood dinners, and they offer special big trays of your favorite food, plus much more. Kashat's Mediterranean Market and Shish Kebab address is 32839 Northwestern Highway in Farmington Hills. Their phone number is 248-538-9552. That number again is 248-538-9552. And the supermarket is open from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Kashat's Mediterranean Market and Shish Kebab will definitely leave you satisfied.
Are you going to start a restaurant or grocery store soon? Do you need floor plans and designs? Call Naji Abood at 734-744-9796. Do you want to buy kitchen and restaurant equipment at discount prices? Call Naji Abood now, 734-744-9796. New Concept Products and Design, the trademark of kitchen equipment. 5% discount on all purchases of $75,000 or more. New Concept Products and Design, new location, 31185 Schoolcraft in Livonia. Learn more at www.newconceptproducts.com. Call Naji Abood, 734-744-9796. When you're looking for the best in optical care, Dr. Imad Nakash is your doctor to see. With years of experience and thousands of successful procedures performed, you can trust your eyes to Dr. Imad Nakash. See Dr. Imad Nakash and his professional staff for your eye care needs. There's 2 locations to serve you. In Hazel Park, call 248-336-3937. 248-336-3937. In Rochester Hills, call 248-299-3937. That's 248-299-3937.
And welcome back to the Arab Street Radio. I'm Ray Hanania. We got a short segment here of about 5 minutes that we're going to do. Ali, let's take a phone call from one of our very dedicated listeners, Jerry Haba. Hey, Jerry, How's Thanksgiving in Detroit?
Hanania.
And keep it short though, okay? Because we're on a tight schedule.
Sir. Well, Mr. Ray, thank you, and good morning to you, and good morning to Mr. Ali Younes. Mr. Ali Younes, Jerry Habba, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for calling.
Thank you.
Jerry.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ali Younes, my question to you, and I know you will give me a very honest answer, regarding if the Crown Royal give the order to kill the journalist Jamal Khashoggi, yes or no? My big question to you, Mr. Ali Younes, do you think the Crown Royal Prince Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia is using or blackmailing the President of the United States, Mr. Donald Trump? Especially, Mr. Ali, what's going to happen if the Saudi government issue an order to stop shipment of oil to the USA? I mean, that will be a disaster. In the meantime, Mr. Ali Younes, there's a lot of competition in the market. We got Russia from one side. We got China from one side. Just imagine if the President of the United States issue an order to arrest Crown Royal for if he tried to accuse him. So I would love your answer. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thanks, Jerry. I appreciate that call. What do you think, Elliot?
It's a legitimate question. I think, first of all, I think on part of the oil, Saudi Arabia needs to sell that oil as much as the world needs it. And I don't think Saudi Arabia would stop selling that oil because they will starve.
Well, would you say, let me just point out, this is interesting, Ali. This week, oil prices have dropped to the lowest they've ever been. I actually filled up my tank and paid $2.14. Last year at Thanksgiving, the gasoline in the U.S., the gallon was $3.80 last year. Now I'm paying only $2.14. There's no way that price went down without the Saudis easing it up. And I think Jerry's point is, do you think that all that is linked together, that by bringing down the price, they're kind of softening U.S. criticism? Because if the U.S. says he did it, then he did it. If the U.S. says he didn't do it, then it'll just be a debate forever.
Yeah, in the global oil market, Saudi Arabia's leverage, it's not because it has a lot of oil. It has its leverage because it's the only country in the world that it could pump 7 billion barrels of oil a day. It has the capacity to pump that oil. But bear in mind, Saudi Arabia, whether it's King bin Salman, Mohammed bin Salman is the king, or King Ahmed, or King Mohammed, it will always be depending on the U.S. Saudi Arabia cannot live or exist, and a lot of Arab countries could not, exist, properly or independently without the U.S. protection. And this is a fact. If you get the numbers economically or militarily, there's a big country called Iran and in the neighborhood, and Iraq and Syria. These countries can withstand. They have big armies. But in the Gulf region, they don't have big armies. They don't have a lot of manpower, and economies totally dependent on oil. So it's always an unwritten agreement between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia that in exchange of protection, they will continue to pump oil. And this was during the Obama administration, when Obama was trying to sign the Iran oil agreement. When the Gulf countries demanded, their demand was the U.S. to sign a formal mutual defense agreement with the Gulf countries. They demanded the U.S. to put it in writing to defend them should Iran attack them. So this is the equation we should look at. Saudi Arabia is not, we should not look at it, and I don't look at it as an independent country in a way like Germany or France is. They could withstand. Yes, they depend on the U.S. U.S. depend on them. The world depend on them for this and that. But this is not a democracy whereby they have 20, 30 million people that they could produce. Saudi Arabia is 90% depending on oil. Jordan depends on foreign aid. The Palestinians totally on foreign aid. Syria is, its economy is very shaky. Iraq now is very shaky economy. But, in 20 years, I don't know what's going to happen. And as far as the blackmailing, the Saudis blackmailing the president, I think it's the other way around. Prince Mohammed bin Salman wants to be king desperately, And I think the Trump administration and Donald Trump knows that very well. And I think this is an analytical point. It's not based on facts or information.
Right.
But this is my
analysis.
analysis.
Your opinion.
Yeah, my opinion. I think they keep him so weak, they could extract and get whatever they want from him and Saudi Arabia now because he's so desperate, wants to hang on the and being a crown prince. They could just do whatever they want with him. They want him weak, and so they could just extract and get the oil. And Pompeo said it last week. He said it's time for Saudi Arabia to pay the money now for the arms agreements that they signed, the $100 billion or $400 billion. So they want the money now. When Mohammed bin Salman is at his weakest negotiation position, he wants the U.S. support. And notice, Mohammed bin Salman totally dependent on Donald Trump word. If Donald Trump said Mohammed bin Salman should go, the royal family will come together and just kick him out. So one Donald Trump, control who rules Saudi Arabia. And this is a fact. This is not an analysis, and it's so obvious.
He has great weight. I don't know if he controls them, but you're right. The U.S. has tremendous weight over. The Saudis have invested in Trump, but not just the Saudis. A lot of Arab countries. But there's change in the Arab world, and I want to talk to you about that to see what you think is happening. Israel is making these big gains, and I think this has a lot to do with this, attitude. They're not doing it just for oil. They're doing it because, not only does the U.S. want more oil, but the U.S. wants the Arab world to get off Israel's back and to open doors. And it looks like Israel has been opening doors in the Arab world in many of the Gulf states. And it just seems that they're making these, movements away from standing up for justice in Palestine. And I'm wondering what's going to happen to the Palestinians and the Saudi peace plan. Ali Younes is my guest online. We got one more segment that we're going to do. Let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll finish off with Ali Younes. We'll talk to him about, the Arab expansion or the Israeli expansion into the Arab world, and maybe even a little bit about politics, Ihlan, Omar, and Rashida Tlaib. I'm Hanania. You're listening to the Arab Street Radio here at WNZK 690 AM radio. We'll podcast this later on so you can listen to it. We have a lot of listeners out there, and we will continue right after these messages.
تعرفوا شيء احنا كتير بنهتم بالمقبلات بالاكل الشامي
واحنا بنهتم بالبهارات والتسبيكة في الاكل المصري
واحنا نهتم هواية باللحوم وجودتها بالاكل العراقي واحنا في مطعم عشتار نهتم بيكم اعتمدوا علينا ايا كان نحن في عشتار نعرف ان لكل مذاق اسرار فنحن نقدم اجود انواع اللحوم من ملحمة عشتار الواقعة على 56865 راين رود
عشتار قصة حضارة ترويها لكم اطباقنا المميزة في كل زيارة
تفضلوا بزيارتنا في 3625 East 15 Mile Road, Sterling Heights.
مطعم عشتار بإدارة فادي بهنام وعلي البغدادي 586-698-2585 586-698-2585.
Life is a non-profit charity that's provided humanitarian aid and development to people and communities for over 25 years, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. When disaster occurs here or around the world, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. Please help improve these efforts. Make your tax-deductible donation to Life now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493.
If you have immigration questions dealing with wanting to visit the United States, wanting to work in the United States, wanting to study in the United States, or bringing your family to the United States, you need to contact Lagana and Associates Law Firm. Lagana and Associates Law Firm practice areas include family and business immigration and deportation. Dealing with cases overseas in the Arab region, for free consultation, please call their WhatsApp number at 001-617-283-1018. Lagana and Associates Law Firm offers experienced guidance that will help you with your legal needs as well as navigating the legal system successfully with confidence. Again, their number is 1-617-283-1018.
Ziyad brand. Quality products from our family to yours. Ziyad Brothers Importing offers the finest quality products, including brands like Sultan, Kraft, Nestle, Hook, Rico Picon, Donna, and many more. Ask your retailer to carry these fine products because you deserve the very best. For more information, visit our website at www.ziad.com. That's www.ziad.com. Ziad, quality products from our family to yours.
The Rama Relief Foundation provides humanitarian aid into areas inside of war-torn Syria, as well as aid to the refugees who have fled to the neighboring countries in the Middle East. The foundation offers food baskets, container shipment, mental health, education, soup kitchens, and more. Go to ramarelief.org or call 248-990-4247. Any donation amount made to Rama will go to sustaining many lives. Call now, 248-990-4247.
And welcome back to the Arab Street Radio. I'm Ray Hanania. Our podcast is the arabstreet.org, and you'll be able to download the podcast with me online. Is Ali Younes, journalist and writer for Aljazeera, an award-winning journalist. And I use the word journalist in the most solid term because he is a great journalist. And, of course, just so you know, I'm a different kind of journalist. I'm an op-ed columnist, so I express my opinions, but Ali focuses on the facts. I also want to remind everybody you are on arabradio.us is the website, and you should go there because there are not that many Arab radio shows in the United States. I wish Ali Younes and I could do this show every week because there's so much going on. To just do it once a month is tough. I give Layla Al-Husseini a lot of credit for managing. I don't know how she keeps the radio show together Monday through Friday, but you can help her by going to arabradio.us and supporting all of the advertisers, because those advertisers, it's all about money. You get money, you put the radio show out there, you strengthen the Arab voice, and we're able to get great writers like Ali Younes to share their insight and their experience and their coverage with us so we can understand facts about the Middle East a lot better. Ali, before the break, it opened up this little area about the Israel making so many gains. Is Palestine gone?
I don't think Palestine is gone, or the hope for Palestine is gone, but like you said, Israel is making a lot of gains in the region. And Trump have said it this week or last week. He said, why would he go against Bin Salman? Saudi Arabia has been a great thing for Israel. And it's true. Saudi and Netanyahu has said it many times, and the Saudis have been into Jerusalem. And I have my own sources there, and I've covered this issue. We've seen Netanyahu this past month go visit Oman, a Gulf country, publicly.
Welcome. They played the Israeli national anthem. It's like the Sultan of Oman was stepping on the necks of the Palestinians.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter. And it's the Arab world that caused this problem.
Yeah, and
they're
have
the
an
ones
office
that started the problem with the British and the French.
Yeah, and they have an office in the UAE, and Qatar, had relations and ties with Israel in the past. They cut it off after the Israeli invasion of Gaza in 2009.
Right.
So this is all public information.
Right.
But
I know.
Israel has been gaining, at the expense of the Palestinians. A lot of people criticize the Palestinian Authority in Ramallah, and because it's very corrupt group of people. They call it.
But Ali, what government isn't corrupt? I mean, seriously, look at how many times the Israeli government has been indicted, and accused. How many prime ministers have been jailed? We had didn't one of them go to jail, and now they're accusing Netanyahu. The point is that. Isn't it something bigger? I mean, is there this do you believe the possibility that Trump really wants to bring peace to Israelis and Palestinians? He's not the most articulate person in the world. He's too emotional, and he just can't stop himself from making a fool of himself. But he does say he has this plan, and he needs the Saudis to back it. Is that one factor, do you think, in why he stands so strongly with the Saudis?
No, I agree with you. He wants to have peace between Israel and the Palestinians, but what kind of peace? That's a real question. The question is not whether Trump wants peace or doesn't want peace between Israel and the Palestinians. And both groups, Israel and the Palestinians, they say they want peace, and they say they want to end all this conflict once for all. I mean, they said it, and Obama said it, and everybody was saying it.
Right.
But the question is, what kind of agreement do you want?
Right. But what kind of peace can we get also? Not just what we want. what can we get? Because we've been trying to get peace for 70 years, peace based on turning back the clock, but that is never going to happen. Is it? I mean, I know a lot of Palestinians don't want to compromise, but isn't that really the only chance, to do something, to have sovereignty? Shouldn't we try it? What's the difference between a failed peace and living in conflict like this?
Look, in the aftermath of the 1967 war, when Israel occupied the West Bank, the Golan Heights, and the Sinai, the Israelis offered King Hussein at the time, when the West Bank was a part of Jordanian territory, they offered him what it was called a Yigal Allon plan. Yigal Allon was the Israeli minister, okay? It was named after him. And in that agreement, they offered him to control the West Bank internally, to control the population, but without sovereignty, without access, without having it as part of Jordan completely as it was before the war, before June 4th.
You be the jail keepers, basically.
Yes, King Hussein refused on honorable ground. He said, "Well, look, I'm a king of a sovereign Arab country. I would refuse to work for Israel to be just a jail keeper or your municipality." Mayor, and for Ramallah and Nablus and Jerusalem and East Jerusalem. He refused. Arafat, the late Arafat, accepted that deal in 1994, and it is called Oslo Agreement. So he accepted that.
Well, he did accept it a little bit further. It was supposed to lead to an independent state, but his biggest obstacle was the right of return. He didn't believe that his people would accept writing it off with compensation rather than allowing Palestinians to return. I mean, there were variations, but don't you think had we accepted that today our state would be much more powerful and we could, take Israel to court on so many other issues, but we have nothing, not even that. I mean, that just when you look back at it, that still sounds, something is better than nothing, right? Or am I wrong?
I mean, there's an argument. Yes, you're right. There's an argument that says, had Mahmoud Abbas or Yasser Arafat agreed and flew with it when Ehud Barak was a prime minister, when Ehud Olmert was prime minister, they offered him with some modification and to sign a deal, giving up the right of return or has symbolic right of return or compensation. They could have, become a state. But you never know. I mean, we're talking about history as if,
You're right.
We could roll back the clock, like you said.
Yeah.
But,
and Ali, we're down there our last 2 minutes. So I'm going to give you a quick 30 seconds. Anything that you want to mention that you didn't mention, and I know it's not a lot of time. I wish we could do this every week because I enjoy talking with you, and I think you have the basis, that is so different. So it's less than 1 minute, by the way, so you got to make it quick.
We did not cover Rashida Tlaib close call. I think it's a big achievement for an Arab American to win a seat in Congress.
Yes.
On behalf of Detroit, representing Detroit, although, like we've talked before, she doesn't represent the entire Arab community, and she has African-American constituency, and she has to cater for that constituency if she wants to win again, second or third term, and beyond that. So,
all right, Ali, listen, we have to continue this another time. I'm sorry. You go to Al Jazeera and check out Ali Younes's stories, and I will have a link to his stuff too on my website. I'm Ray Hanania. We got to say thank you for joining us this morning. I wish we had more time. Unfortunately, it's only 1 hour. Ali Younes, my buddy, great journalist coming on. Thank you so much. Everybody, thank you for listening. We will talk later. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ray.